Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
So I haven't done this pattern before. This is the first time I am trying to create something like this, and I am going to try to, while practicing it, I'll try to carry you guys along, but trust me, in that my carrying you guys along, you might probably understand it more than I do, sir. Okay, so to create this particular pants or harem pants, like I saw on the internet, it's called harem pants. We're going to be needing just few measurements, which is either your waist or your hip. That's your round waist or your round hip. How low you want the crotch to be, and the length of your pants. Okay, that is just it. These three measurements is all you need. And because this is a tryout, what I'm going to be doing is, while I mark, of course, I'm going to tell you what I'm marking, why I'm marking it, and like that. Okay, so I'm going to start off by telling you that I'm going to be using the whole length of my pattern and the whole width of my pattern, because the harem pants is very wide and very big. It's not a fitted pants. It's just something free that you can wear, to run errands, to, just, when you want to let loose and relax. This is something that you can wear and do such. So I'm going to be using the whole width of my pattern and the length of my pattern. Okay, so on the top here, I don't need to come down by 1 inch or any of those things. I'm just going to label here my waist. The top here is going to be my waist. Okay, and since here is my waist, how low I want the crotch to drop is going to be 26 inches. And how did I get this measurement? I actually measured this on my body. Okay, so I placed my tape on my waist point, and I dropped the tape to the point where I want the crotch, the crotch to drop, and I got 26. So I'm going to be marking 26 from here. So I'm just going to place my tape on the top here and go down by 26, and that is going to be where my crotch will be sitting. So like I made mention, I'm using the whole of my pattern paper, the width. So I'm just going to rule the line and I'll label it crotch. Okay, so here is the crotch. This is where my crotch will be sitting when I'm ready to mark it. Okay, and like I made mention, this is going to be my length. I'm just going to write length at the base. So the base here is for my length. Okay, after this one, we're going to be doing the proper pattern. Okay, I'm going to be redoing this again once I'm done with this practical. All right, so moving on to the waist. The first thing I'm going to do now is mark how wide my waist is going to be. Now, please take note of the fact that this is a pant that has to do with gathers. Okay, so this pant has a whole lot of gathers, and for that reason, whatever you're marking on your waist, you need to add allowance of 8 to 10 inches. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches. You just need to add so much allowance because there's going to be gathering. Okay, there's going to be gathers on the waist, the crotch side. There's going to be gathers. Everywhere is just going to be gathered. Okay, so for that reason, whatever you mark on your waist, make sure you add allowance. Now, if I am using my round waist divided by 4, which is 7.5, I'm going to be adding 8 inches to that measurement. So what I'll be marking on my waist point is going to be 15.5. Okay, because 8 plus 7.5 gives you 15.5. Now, if I don't want to use my waist and I decide to use my hip, because I made mention of the fact that you can use your hip. Okay, you can ignore your waist and use your hip, and then once you mark your round hip divided by 4, you can just add same 7 to 8 inches allowance so that you get enough gathering. So I'm going to be making use of my waist, so I'm just going to say my round waist divided by 4, which is 7.5. So my round waist is 30 divided by 4 equals to 7.5, plus 8 inches is the extra I'm adding. So what I'll be marking on my waist is 15.5. I'm just going to approximate that to 16, and yeah. So on this part here on my waist, I'll be marking 16. I hope you guys understood how we got to this point. Okay, so there's going to be a whole lot of gathering on that point. Now, on my crouch, I am not going to be doing any mass there. I'm just going to be using the end. Okay, like I said, I'm using the whole thing. So what I'll do now is I'll connect from here, my waist, to my crouch using my long ruler like this. I'm just going to connect it to the end of my width here. Okay, so you can see that the pant is already coming together. So now that I have done this, so obviously because of the crouch is here, this is where my crouch is, you should know that this here is going to be my center front. Okay, so this is going to be where my center front is going to be sitting, and this part of the pattern here is the side. Okay, so now that we have that done, on the length, okay, I'm going to be marking 10 inches because that is how wide I want it to be on the length. Okay, that is how wide I want it to be on my length. In fact, 10 inches is too much. I'm going to be marking 8 inches. Okay, so that is how wide I want it to be on the length. I'm just going to mark 8 inches in from this side in. I'll just mark 8 inches. So what it means is that it's going to be free, but when it gets to the length, it's going to be a bit. You guys can see the picture of what I'm trying to recreate. Okay, so that's just it. So I'm going to connect from this point to this point using like a curve. So I'm just going to use my hand, my free hand, to make sure that whatever I'm doing is a curve. Okay, so I'm just going to curve. Please watch what I do. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure you get a curve. Okay, so did you see how I got my curve? I'm not going to connect it like this. I have to shade. My marker is finishing. So this is it. Very simple. This harem pants, I've always wanted one. Not one, I've always wanted more than one. And I have been doing a lot of research on how to cut it. Okay, and I just came up with this. After watching so many videos, I just came up with this. Like, I felt like, okay, let me just cut it like I'm cutting an A-line skirt, but then at the base here I create my leg. Okay, so that's what I just did. So this is it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. So let me relabel. This is the side. Here is my center front or back, center front and back, and center back. Here is my crouch, and here is the length. Now that you have your pattern paper, let's go ahead and cut this. So I used 3 yards of fabric, or close to 2.5. But then make sure you fold your fabric into 4. That is very important because we're cutting the front and the back together. Okay, so here is closed edge, or here is closed edge, and on my closed edge I'll be placing the sides. Okay, the side of the pattern is going to be sitting there, while the center front and center back is going to be on the open edge. Of course I'm gonna go ahead and pin so that while I am cutting, the pattern paper does not move. So go ahead and pin yours, then check, confirm you have 4 fabrics or 4 layers of fabric. Okay, and now let's go ahead and cut. Now see the way I'm going to cut out my pattern. I'm going to make sure that I leave like 1/4 inch round while cutting, but this is not really necessary. I just wanted to have more sewing allowance while I sew, so you don't have to do this because this is already gathered and it's going to fit no matter what. Now on top I left like 1 inch because I'm going to be attaching a band for my elastic, so I left 1 inch on top of that's the waist point, the waist side. I left 1 inch worth of fabric allowance. I'm just going to open this up so you see what I have. This is the front and the back together. This is what it looks like, and what we're going to do is sew the sides, okay, by 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch or 1 inch, up to you. So go ahead and sew this side. Before making this pant, I actually thought I was in for a very hard process, but then when I was able to understand how to draft out my pattern, I realized that the sewing version of it, or the sewing aspect of it, was simple, very very simple, very very straightforward. There's not too much thing on it, like there's not too much process. Sew your sides together, sew your crotch, attach your band, and put your elastic, and you're done. Okay, so both the pattern drafting and the sewing version, it's really easy. So this is like a very very beginner project for me. I think it's a very very beginner project. Okay, so anyone can try this. After I was done sewing the sides, now it's time for me to sew the crotch together so I can get my 2 legs, and everything is just going to be sitting the way it is supposed to sit. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to locate the seam for the back and the seam for the front, and I'm just going to place front and back seams together. Okay, that's center front and center back. Where you have your sewing for your center back and where you have your sewing for your center front, place those 2 sewing together and now sew the lines. Okay, so see the center front and the center back, placing this together, and I'm just going to sew from the center front to the left and the center front to the right. You guys are going to see what I do. So I'm sewing from the center front and back, like why pinning them or why placing them together. I'm sewing from that point to the left, so when you do this aspect or this process, you're going to realize that you've created the legs. Okay, so where your leg is going to pass through, this will automatically create it. So this is what I mean, and I'm going to sew this other side from that point, and that is it for this part. Okay, that is it for this process, this step. Now we're going to create the band for my elastic, where my elastic is going to be sitting. I need to create the band for it. And before I do that, I have to measure the waist point, okay? The waist on my pants. I have to measure what I have round it. So how to do that? I'm going to start measuring from one seam to the other seam, or back to the same seam that I started from. Okay, so I'm starting, let me just assume that I'm starting from the center front seam. I'm going to start there and then take my tape round the waist circumference to that point that I started from. This is going to give me the accurate measurements I need to cut out for my band. Okay, so process step, follow the process, follow the step. I got 67 and I already cut out the band for this, and this band is 70 inches wide, sorry, 70 inches wide, and it is 4 inches long. Okay, let me show you the length. 4 inches. Now, why am I using 4 inches as my band? Because the elastic I'm going to be passing through is an elastic of 1 inch. So what I'll do is I'll go fold this into 2 first and iron down, which will make it a band of 2 inches. When you measure, when you fold it into 2 and you calculate, it's 2 inches. So I'll do this first, iron this down, and while I go sew, I'm going to be sewing almost 0.75 in on each side of the band. You're gonna see again, you're gonna see what I do. Okay, so in case I'm confusing you with this English that I'm speaking, just watch the process, watch what I'm doing, and you're definitely not gonna miss it. All right, so let's attach the band to the pants. So I'm going to use my seam ripper and open one of the seams, either the center front or the center back. But for mine, I picked the center back because I want that joining for my band to be at the back of my waist. Okay, so I open a little bit and then I'm just going to place my band, and I'm going to sew 0.5 inch in on the wrong side first and flip to the right side and sew another 0.5 inch in. So I'm showing you that I'm starting from here, one of the seam, and I'm just gonna sew, baby, sew me. Of course, I'm sewing this round the waistline because this is where the band will be sitting, and we need the band to be round the whole waist. Okay. That was done. So or that is done. Now I'm just going to cut out the extra, because remember I said I cut out more than what I had for the round waist. I cut out 70 inches instead of 67, or I cut out, I think, more than 70 inches though. So now that I was done sewing from the wrong side, now I'm going to be top stitching from the right side, and I'm going to be folding this band in again from the right side. Okay, what I'm doing is trimming off the excess that I don't need so I can continue with the step. Okay, so this part here is not really necessary. In case yours is not that plenty, you don't need to trim like me. So I'm going to fold again, like I said. I'm folding this in, and this time around I'm going to top stitch this band now on the right side of my fabric, the good side, and this is going to create a channel for elastic for me. Now this is not the only way you can create a channel for elastic. Okay, while drafting out your pattern, you can also draft out the pattern to have a band, so you don't have to go through this process where you cut out an extra band. Okay, you can create your own harem pants pattern with a band on it. Okay, and you cut the fabric together with the pants, that's the fabric for the band, you cut it together with the pants, and it's just going to be easier for you to even attach an elastic. Okay, so if you don't want to do that, do this one that I'm doing right now. So once I was done, now it's time for me to pass my elastic. Okay, and most of you like to ask me, how do I know the width of my elastic? Girl, what you're going to do is just find out what your round waist is, and then minus 45 inches from that measurement of your round waist.
Anyone you said, anyone.
Now after passing my elastic through the band, I'm going to close off that back seam, and that is it for this step. Remember I said that was what I was gonna do. I open up the back to be able to create this band and then put the elastic. Now I'm closing off that back, okay, and we're done with this. The last but not the least step to do for my harem pants, girls and gents, if you're watching, is to hem the base of my pants, and I'm done. Okay, amazing creatives, I am done. So this was how I created my harem pants. I love this process so much. Now I have filmed this particular pant like a long time ago, and I actually filmed this while I was making my backless dress, and I've not really had the time to edit and bring it to you. But now that the video is available, I hope you did enjoy it or enjoy it. Let me know in the comment section. Thank you for sewing with Vivian today. I can't wait to see you on the next video. I love you guys so much. How you guys doing? Don't you guys miss me? Nobody's saying anything, but anyways, I'll see ya on my next video. Mwah. Bye.